Today, African Americans have a better life than they did in the 1950s and 60s. They face segregation that is less blatant. They are no longer told to get up and move to the back of the bus or shut up and pick cotton. In 21st century America, African American athletes that stand up against the inequalities and racial inequalities are told to shut up and dribble or are ridiculed for taking a knee during the national anthem. Today, teams are more likely to spend time with minority students and take them to museums than visit their own president who doesn't respect them. That is 21st century America today. Some of these are the same problems that occurred in the 50s and 60s. These are also the same problems that MLK marched to and got beaten and thrown in jail for by narrow-minded police following others' orders. In MLK's The Other People, or The Other America, he says that it was more honorable to accept jail cell experiences than segregation. Today, African Americans that commit a crime are more likely to get shot down by police than have those jail cell experiences. But white mass shooters who take innocent lives at schools, movie theaters, or even churches are taken alive and get to see those jail cell experiences. That is 21st century America today. In 21st century America, African Americans are still segregated by schools because of poverty. Low income families and those that live in poverty usually live in the inner city. They cannot afford to move to better school districts that have schools with adequate resources. Segregation of schools still happens today, but isn't blatant. In 21st century America, politicians are more likely to implement high stakes testing and given more funding to the more successful schools or increase funding towards private and charter schools instead of providing funding for the schools that contain a more poor population or the schools that aren't as successful on those high stake tests. Because obviously they don't need it even though they lack materials and resources for their students. Some of these schools even lack quality educators or even resources for the good educators. Some educators at these schools have it predetermined in their minds that students of color are going to fail. Students of color are also more likely to get expelled, thus changing their minds about finishing high school and moving on to college. Statistics show that African American students have a lower graduation rate than white students. Graduation is important because college has been proven to be the gateway to the middle class and the way out of poverty. Instead of trying to get kids off the streets in inner city schools in 21st century America, funding for after school programs has continued to be cut. In 21st century America, people are more likely to teach young children about greed, selfishness, hate, racism, than love, compassion, unity, and respect towards one another. Teaching students to care about one another than hate is going to make America's future brighter. We are all living our own experiences, but we are sharing this world with one another. One of the commandments is even love thy neighbor. African Americans in the 21st century America live better lives than they did in the 1950s and 60s. There are still racial inequalities today, but they have been improved and need to continue to do so. We need to come together as a nation and as a world to improve the future for all races, religions, and for every person in the world. There is a brighter future, but we have to be persistent about change and accepting one another.